the likes of Nick Tronsky, Andy Fryer, and James Wolfensberger put Eastern Connecticut on the map through their exploits in duckpin bowling's Eastern Classic, the longest running and most prestigious tournament the sport has to offer. This year marks the 85th edition of the Eastern Classic. Over the years, duckpin bowling has undergone changes big and small. Even the venue of the Eastern changed, moving 1 mile down Route 32 in 1968. But duckpin bowlers have always been able to rely on one thing: the annual Eastern Classic. Over the years, the legends of duckpin bowling have cemented their places in this sport's history by winning the Eastern Classic. Tronsky, Fryer, Wolfensberger, Farrant, Lavers, Pierce, Wolgemuth, Cabral, Pelletier, Piles, the greatest of all time. Who will join this elite group this year? You have 12 games, gentlemen. Let's see what you've got.
All right. Welcome in to Lucky Strike Lanes in Mansfield, Connecticut for the conclusion of the 88th Annual Eastern Classic Tournament. And I'm Eric Leteska. Very, very happy to be here to bring you guys the last 4.5 games of the last shift. I have to say, if there's a time to one of these broadcasts, these live broadcasts, to share and pass around to your friends and maybe sit down in front of the TV in the living room, this is the one. It's and that is because at the end of this 4.5 games, a winner will be crowned.
Absolutely.
So Pat Rufo, been here all weekend?
Been here most of the weekend. I took some time off to go visit with my daughter and watch her run a race last night, but came back and did some of the night shift last night. Been here all morning.
Yep.
Watching some very good bowling. Our contenders on this shift are starting
They're many.
They're many. Yeah, I'm trying to gather my thoughts. John D'Antonis, Don Dove, Stacy Kelly, and then there's probably a handful of other bowlers who are within. I know Dan Richmond just came off a 166 game, and he's within one more 166 game of putting himself a little bit more in the picture.
Yeah.
So
you said John D'Antonis, Don Dove, Stacy Kelly. Those three bowlers are among the top on the shift, and where we're keeping score in the bottom of your screen. Also on this shift, on the leaderboard in contention, you've got Steve Dreyer, Mark Anastasi, Will Rigney. Did we miss anybody? You mentioned Don.
I think we got them all.
I think we got them
John
all.
D'Antonis, Steve Dreyer, Kelly, Dove, Rigney. And then as far as right now, that's what's been put. Now, I'm looking up in front of us on lanes 15 and 16, and I want to say that triple, but
No, he's spare strike spare, I believe.
okay, so they just haven't filled in the scores. Okay.
Yep.
Because the blocks are opens, which usually indicates a triple, but that's fine.
We've got this angle is going to have John D'Antonis on it in the left. We're a little behind on the scores on the bottom left corner of the screen. We're gonna get those caught up right now. John D'Antonis is having a pretty good game. He actually had a 148 his first game of this block.
You see Stacy Kelly pop up in the screen there. He chopped for 2 on first ball. See John D'Antonis right now is stringing together some marks. He came off the first game 148, and he's well ahead of that pace this game.
Just recorded another mark. That would be 5 in a row for John D'Antonis. John's got 180 in his sights this game.
He sure does, and kind of a game he needs. There's Don Dove now, right in front of us on lane 15. Went through the middle for 5. So they do now fill in that score. So it's 58-78 strike cup and 8 on it. So Don fills an 8, looking to clean up the 10 box here. As you can see,
That's a great angle of Don right there.
very good shot right there to clean it up, and plus 36.
Yeah, Don had a little bit of a low game. I think he was in the 120s on his first one. He's trying to make up some ground.
Yeah, 125, I believe, for
Yeah.
Don in the first game.
So, Pat, maybe, I was actually bowling in this first shift. You had a good, in the first shift this morning, you had the opportunity to watch it and to cover the action, call the shots. Maybe you can give a little bit of a recap where we stand. What does the leaderboard look like now?
Yeah, the morning, basically came out featuring Jesse Deach, who was well in the lead to start the shift. And then we had yourself in very good position as well in the 920s. Then we had Kyle Shaw, who was in the picture at 888. But as the day unfolded, as you experienced firsthand, your day was tough. You just had a little bit of difficulty getting the ball where you wanted it all day, and you fought it, but it just didn't work out, and you trailed a little bit. Then Kyle and Jesse became the focus, and when it came down to their last game, Kyle had actually at one point taken the lead in the tournament, but he was in front of Jesse frame-wise, so Jesse had to catch up, and Jesse ended up needing a mark in the last 2 boxes.
Right, he did.
And he ended up marking twice.
He did, right. He threw a strike and then put a spare on it and then
Right.
covered 9
Right.
and got himself total 18-17.
Right.
Kyle, the only other bowler who's exceeded 1,800
So we
so
have
far.
those 2 bowlers in the clubhouse
Yep,
with scores in
1801
the
for Kyle.
1800s. And then the rest of the day, we're going to see how many of these bowlers can maintain average necessary to get to 1800. There are only 3 bowlers that started this shift that were already over that pace, and I know 2 of them already are under it.
Right.
So it's just a matter of
It's not-
endurance.
It is not easy to go back-to-back 900s. There's a couple of bowlers out here that average near that, but it's still, it's still a challenge to do that, to come out in this tournament and in this bowling alley and maintain
Absolutely.
a 150 average.
One thing I can tell you I've noticed already, just the extreme difference from this morning shift to this afternoon shift, is the pace of play is absolutely breakneck here. These guys get up bowl. Much like you guys did in your group. You guys were way ahead of the pace on your shift. This shift is all across the board. I'm watching. They're up and they're bowling. These games are going along at a much faster clip.
Yep. A lot of marks up here. There's
That helps as well.
Don Dove logging another spare there, covering the 4-pin. So the camera is set, waiting for John D'Antonis. Excuse me. It just fused 2 bowlers together there.
Nice. Little mashup.
John has 152 plus in the 9th frame. He's gonna finish his second game here. Hopefully, really strong. As I was placing the camera down behind John on those lanes, the furthest pairs being used in the tournament. That's
19 and 20. Yep.
I did have a second to ask John how he was feeling. He had already finished his first game. I mean, he said he went through the middle toward the end, but I just said, hey, how do you feel? And he said, I feel good. Yeah. And that's, John D'Antonis,
absolutely
940, 950, his first, his first 6, saying, I feel good. So look out.
Just saw Stacy in the picture there, struggling, missing a spare. I believe he made a 9 or 10 box. Here's Johnny D. And put 10 more on top of that spare. Very close to an all-mark game. He had the one open in the 4th, putting himself now on pace for a game in the 180s.
190 maybe.
Yep. Of course, Johnny came into the series, into this final block, averaging 157, which is above the average of our current clubhouse leader. And if you mix a 125 with a 180 something, you're gonna not hurt your average all that much.
No, that's getting ahead a little bit and giving yourself a little bit of cushion.
Exactly.
Might I say, staying confident as well.
Exactly. Well, he comes into this let's be real. He doesn't have to hit 900 to win.
No, he does not. But
so that makes it a little bit less
right
of a mental challenge.
And look at where we are here already. He's got 180 without that next ball.
Right.
He had 148 his first game. He's got 328.
Yeah. So I mean, he's above the 157 average that he posted to get here.
And he gets to spare and finishes with 182. That
So
game. That's off to a really good
330.
Start.
So
330.
330.
Pardon me. 330.
So that I'm sure he'll take a 165 average for the first 2 games.
Yeah,
and run away and
I'd like to think so.
Move down to 1 and 2 and put another one again.
Yep. Mark Anastasi, another bowler whose scores were not showing, but among the leaders here, and he's having himself a pretty good game. I didn't quite get caught up on his first game yet, but so far he's got 90 plus in the 6th frame. I'm sorry, 100 plus in the 7th frame. He's working on a strike. He is bowling with Stacy. Stacy Kelly throws a spare. Okay, Mark had 139 his first game.
So we're going to have Stacy Kelly marked in his last box. Here's Don Dove looking to fill his spare. There's a big ball right there for 9 drop. Solid 7 left.
We talked to Don a couple of years ago on the first weekend. We had a chance to interview him, as well as a few other bowlers. Oh, just hung on there for that.
Boy, he's lucky that wasn't 60 and a half feet.
I'm thinking he was worried about it, but he'll take it. Don mentioned this as the one jewel that's missing from the crown.
He's got a shirt full of stars.
Yeah, a galaxy worth of stars on the back of the shirts that he wears out on the Pro Tour, and this is just the missing thing in his entire career. I have no doubt he comes here every year. Well, I'm gunning for a win at this tournament.
I guess. Call me confused. Has Johnny D'Antonis ever won this tournament?
I don't
believe that name's on the list. So
no, he's not. So
Got a couple of bowlers in
two guys.
contention who have not yet put their name on that Eastern Classic champion list.
I think there's, Will Rigney's still on our list here, kind of hanging out.
He's won it, obviously, in the
He's
past
won
2
it.
years.
Um,
Steve Dryer's won
Steve Dreyer's a past winner, but
Jesse
know.
Deitch, I'm pretty sure.
Jesse's got a second place, I believe.
Second. Oh, that's right. The year we covered.
Colin.
Right.
But outside of those two bowlers, we're talking about a first-time winner. No,
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep. See in front of you right now, Leo Montero getting ready to throw his 9th box of his second game of this series, which would make it his 8th game of the tournament. See that ball just slide by the head pin. So at this point, Don and his crew will make their way down to the far end of the house. The infamous lanes 1 and 2. They've been historically known to produce some big scores throughout the Eastern Classic and as well as other tournaments and league functions at Lucky Strike. So we'll see if John, geez, you and I are having trouble with that.
Yeah.
If John can continue this torrid pace on 1 and 2, which really puts him in a great position after 3 games, if he can come off 1 and 2 with another monster game. See Don Dove right there, just another explosive 9 load, leaving the 7-pin once again. I was talking to Steve Dryer he was in between games. He said he left the 7-pin 5 boxes in a row.
Oh, and Don
Went
I
way
don't know,
by that.
He was really light on the outside of it, the 9th frame. Very, very light on the outside of it on the 9th frame, and then
Went way by
I
it
wonder
on
if
that
he,
one.
I wonder if that was what he was thinking about when he
Right, so
tried to be a little conservative on the other side.
154 that game for Don Dove. Again, great bowling in duck pins when you throw anything in the vicinity of 150 or over. He's going to need to go a little bit more to move up the ladder, as they say, and push his scores up to the range where right now John D'Antonis is sitting, who's probably getting close to averaging 160 at this point.
Yeah, John is setting a different pace.
And as you
than
just
almost anybody has.
As you just said a minute ago, Eric, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Don came by, and as he walked by the booth, he said out loud, overcompensated on that one.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we were, we're always wondering what the bowlers were thinking when they approached the shot.
Right.
He was thinking, I almost missed that last time on the left.
Yep.
And he
Yep.
did exactly as you said. He worked too far to the right in
Right.
adjusting and
he,
just completely missed
and
the
then,
pin.
obviously, on the third ball, fixed it and found it somewhere in between those other two balls. And
Well,
I'm not expecting to see him miss many more of those today.
Well, we watched all morning as Kyle Shaw left one pinner after one pinner after one pinner, and to my recollection, he only missed 2 of them. And I know he shot at a minimum of 20.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah. What a day. I didn't witness his bowling. I did talk to him for a few minutes afterwards. He said, and it sounds like it's true, that he threw his 1,000 ball, not his 900
No,
ball
he,
today,
I'm going to tell you right now.
He said he went through the middle on a lot of marks,
Right,
and
right.
and then just I don't think he was saying that I missed. I don't think at all he was saying I didn't
No.
carry strikes. I think he was saying that my fills a lot of the times I was through the middle and
Right. I'm
a
gonna
lot
tell you-
out there because of that.
Let me share with some thoughts that he had with me. He thinks he missed the head pin twice.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
And if Kyle thinks that, he's probably right.
Right. So Stacy Kelly
I think
still
Stacy had
working through his game here.
I think Stacy may have had a 9 spare.
That's what the score looks like.
See, right in front of us off camera is big Phil Dix, who's been very competitive on the Pro Tour, and he's wearing that safety bright yellow, sort of like our guy Don Dove down there in the fluorescent orange.
And we just had Mark Anastasi in your frame there. He's really on a roll here. Looks like 129, 139 plus in the ninth. He's got one more frame left, but he's working on a spare, and looks like 6 consecutive marks, 6 out of 8 this game.
Yeah, just looking at Mark's opening games, he hasn't thrown one of those monsters yet that he's capable of throwing. He can string strikes with anyone.
I think, early on in the day, it's in my opinion probably more comfortable. You're better off with spares early. You're really trying to get you're going to get more dialed in as the day goes on. If you're hitting your marks, the strikes are gonna come eventually.
Again, because of the format of the Eastern Classic, we have Stacy Kelly, who's on our leaderboard for the Open, but he's also bowling a second tournament as well, and a third tournament if you want, in that he's got a handicap division, he's got a B division. So these are all attainable goals, even if he doesn't reach the 160 status. If he keeps that average around 150, he's going to win himself some prize money.
Yeah,
accolades for doing a amazing job in a tournament.
He's already got a lot to be proud of.
Well, that is awesome.
So does this guy, by the way, on your screen. That's Will Rigney, 2016 Eastern Classic champion.
Covering up a single. It looks like he may have missed the spare, though, the way he reacted.
Will is still on our, average-wise leaderboard in the 8th spot. He's carrying a 147. Nothing to scoff at, I think he's a little bit disappointed with how his weekend's going so far, but he's trying to make something of it.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of paper, a lot of frames, and he can throw strikes with
and the guys that we're talking about. These are the guys that are capable of going over 200. So we're gonna clear that. So Don Dove is off camera, first attempt on lane 1, leaving himself looks like the 278. Can you help him clear that? All right, so Johnny D'Antonis, again, off camera. He is finishing up his first box. It looks like a 9. Don Dove had a 9 box. Johnny D'Antonis had a 9 box. Johnny D'Antonis. So we got Will Rigney up on lane 1. Looks like he hit off the side a little bit, but made the conversion. Nice spare. So he's on the board for this game.
And already, Pat, you see a difference in the pace. Some bowlers already through game 2 of this block. Others with a few to go.
Yeah, there's a couple of pairs that are a little bit behind in terms of speed, but we got Stacy Kelly right now. We're trying to update his score. We got Don Dove just about to take the lane for his third game of this set.
I think we'll, with a little lull in the action for a moment here, we're going to step away for a quick break, regroup, and we'll be back right after this.
Become the biggest problem solver I ever know. He's just okay, I want to do that, so we're just going to figure out how we're going to do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated and Collins champion.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ringing 5 pin, and we have a tie. Coverage of the 88th annual Frank Barber Memorial Eastern Classic. We have quite an quite an event unfolding. We do every year, and this is the very best part of it. When everything is going to resolve itself, we're going to find out who the winner of this tournament is. The leaders in the clubhouse are Jesse Deach and Kyle Shaw, who both concluded their 12-game sets this morning. And we are following a number of bowlers today. One of them is the one on your screen, Stacy Kelly. Looks like he just got a 9 on that.
It's had several.
Spare. And Stacy's really doing a good job here, grinding out.
Absolutely. He's averaging 148 through 7, and he's got a chance to go over that average with a mark and load in the 10th.
Another bowler we're watching is Don Dove, who, while we were away, threw a strike, opened up his 3rd game today, his 9th game total with a strike. And then we've got John D'Antonis. John has made the long trip from lanes 19 and 20 all the way down to 1 and 2. John has opened his day up quite well, I would say. 148, 182.
48, 82 works
330
for me. Stacy's ball on the load is at least 9, maybe kick over for another one. So that gives him a 152. Nice game for Stacy.
And just a quick story touching on, this is Jim Kaufman again. John D'Antonis, I was talking with Will Rigney, who's on the same pair as John, and Will looks at me, he goes, can't catch this guy. He had 153 his second game, and ended up ripping the middle on a triple. Then he throws another strike, rips the middle again. All the while, John is just spearing his way through. And now we're going to focus on Don here. There's a strike up in the first.
Don's got a pin spin in there. He's going to be patient on this one.
It's got to back up another foot or so.
There's
well
John
done.
D'Antonis.
Yep.
Wow.
Don was waiting for the spin. Johnny D throw a 7-10 split on lane 2. Seen quite a few of those over on that pair, actually. Don,
we just caught him there.
Covers up the single, so he's off to a good start in game 9 of his series.
That was right on the face. John trying to do the best you can you could hope for when you leave the 7-10.
Yeah, make a 10 box. Yep, exactly.
He left one behind. I think he earned a ball off there so far.
Jim Kaufman was just talking about Will Rigney, and he's on lane 1, and he's starting to fire the ball and much more consistently in the pocket. But like he said, I'm throwing 150s. This guy's throwing 180s, and he's ahead of me already.
Yeah, it's
almost not fair.
Right. All you can hope for is, all you can do is really try to manage your own game.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough, I would say,
right.
When you're bowling with the guy who's setting the pace that
right.
you're trying to keep up with.
And Jim and I had this conversation all morning where at this point in the set, it's very hard to think of anything other than one thing, and that's 1,800.
Yeah.
And as it panned out in the morning, that score, we were talking about Jesse maybe getting to 1900. Well, as it turns out, he needed to fight to get to 18.
Yeah, it was. He had quite a first 4 games. Really surprised. Or I'm not sure if it was the fourth.
He had
game
the
that
the fourth game. He went 113.
Yeah, that was unexpected. I think a couple of bad frames in there, but you know,
it was
for a moment it really was looking like 1900.
absolutely.
But things change quickly. You know, you can't. You don't make any assumptions about how this is going to end, especially if you're one of the bowlers up here.
no, you
right?
just got to. Well, and again, we were talking about Kyle making a run at 1800, and even if he caught Jesse, he's going to barely get to 1800 if he does. And is that enough? You know, both of those bowlers wanted to get as much above 1800 as they could, and you know, Jesse struggled mightily. There's Johnny D on lane 1, and he gets a splashdown 9 with a lot of lumber left.
Little action off the wall to carry the 4-5. Yeah, Kyle's prediction after he was done was third place, which for himself, that is.
Understood.
And what he said was that would be 3 consecutive years third place in this tournament. I think
All
he
within
was,
10 pins of each other.
Yeah, I think he was happy with his performance today. Just hoping for a little bit more, hoping for a little more luck in some situations.
Right. Well,
But-
Kyle averages 147. So for him, a 900 set is just a little bit above his average.
Yeah. His prediction was both Jesse and himself are probably going to get beat by at
Someone
least
on
one
this shift,
person in
yeah.
this shift. So that remains to be seen. But you know, Johnny D'Antonis
Right.
seems to be doing everything he can to make that prediction come true.
And we saw how quickly it changed for Jesse this morning when he was averaging 160, 160, 160, and then all of a sudden, that one game, and it's down to 150. You have Don Dove, lane 18.
So we've been covering Stacey Kelly's score in the bottom left corner of the screen. We've also been reporting on Mark Anastasi as he's been surging ahead. Making, I guess, what you could call a comeback because he started off really, really hot yesterday. He's had a really good start to his day. He's earned a spot on our score sheet there. And we're going to try to keep up with Mark. You see Stacey on your screen right there. Stacey did finish strong on that last game. I'm not quite sure where his score ended up.
153's averaging, I think, almost 149.
He ended that last game with a 153.
Correct.
Okay, there's Don Dove. That would be 3 in a row for
3 in a
Don.
row for Don. Stacey starts off, Stacey in front of us now starts off with a mark. Will Rigney over on 1 and 2. Slides by the head pin and leaves a split. Let's put it that way. He left a 1, 3, 6, 7.
I really like that angle on Will. You get to see, the geometry of his swing.
Yep.
Really well, and the angle that
Comes
he takes
across.
in the pocket. Not just the way that the ball travels, but also his the angle of his arm up against his body.
Right.
You see he kind of has a little bit of a lean to the right, but his arm swings really, really straight back and forth. Right. It's a pretty unique style, but he does it very, very well. It shows you.
Yes.
There's a lot of different styles in this game, and John D'Antonis himself has a pretty unique style, I would say. There's a lot of ways to be good at this game, and that's one of the best things about covering the shift is you get to see a lot of them because a lot of them want to bowl on this shift.
Yep. So you see Stacey Kelly averaging 148.5, which is right now currently leading the B division.
Yeah, by a pretty wide margin at this point, and he's currently 5th by average in our standings.
So just right there.
But Mark Anastasi did move by him just a little bit.
Yep. Just saw Johnny D'Antonis essentially do what Kyle did all day. Just sent a whole bunch of pins over in the corner toward that 7 pin. And here's Mark Anastasi as we speak right now.
Nope. I think Mark a little surprised by the ball there.
Johnny D covering that 7 pin. He's now 2 marks in a row.
John looks like he's just, humming along here.
Fortunate for us that Mark Anastasia and Stacy Kelly are both in the same group. So
Oh, and right in front of us. We thank
So-
them for that on this game. We're getting a little bit regrouped here and trying to get our, the scorekeeping up to date and everything, and it helps to have a couple bowlers right in front of you. There's Don.
Don Dove with a bomb. So Dove is starting to make us charge in this game, but he's just got to keep scoring his game and worry about what happens with the other guys when it gets there.
Here's a good replay opportunity. Look at Don. That follow through.
It's very
One of a
powerful.
kind.
He had
Yeah.
slid one across. It almost stayed up. Seen quite a few pins on 17 and 18 slide and not fall, move position.
Yeah.
And Don had one sliding across sideways there that just fought to stay up.
I think there's been a little bit of that this weekend. I don't know if it's any more than you normally expect, but I did see some interesting things. In fact, I myself had a head pin slide over, and I was shooting the 1-3-6, but it looked like the one was right in front of the 3.
Yeah.
Shame to say that I missed it, but that was my morning.
See John D'Antonis load his spare with an 8, leaving the 6-10. So he goes from the 7 pin twice in a row over to the other side of the lane, and he's wondering why it
he's
didn't
double
fall
checking.
down.
He's double checking. I think the pin shook.
So Antonis with a miss, let's put it that way. He had a spare leave, and he slid by to the left of it.
Yeah.
We start looking at total scores. We still have a little over 3.5 games to go, and Dove is averaging just slightly under 8 pins a game, less than D'Antonis. So it's a lot of pins to make up. See Stacy Kelly cutting through the middle for 5.
I don't believe we've updated it yet, Pat, but on our screen here where we're really monitoring everything real time, we're working on getting the update in there now. We've got a new leader in the C division, and that is the young first-time Eastern bowler, Matt Gano.
No kidding.
Matt's registered his 12 games. He finished them up this morning. He was bowling, I believe, with Jesse Deach, the
He was
leader.
Yes.
And the average he carried for the tournament was 133.7. That's at the top
That's awesome.
the C division standings right
And
now.
both Matt and Jesse were constantly cheering each other on. We could hear it from down here.
Yeah, I mean, that was a moment. I don't want to take too much time away from the action here. You've got Mark Anastasia here. Oh, what a ball that was. Oh, shakes.
Just didn't get it to fall.
So I too, bowling on that shift, noticed all the support that was. Oh wow, Don Dove, what a ball!
Yep.
I think he thought
Blew 9 off the
double.
pack.
Yeah. So you got Mark Anastasia right down the middle. That's a great angle for him too. I feel like we're lucky with a couple of bowlers here. They're
Yep.
lined up so nicely with their
And
swing.
even though we took Stacy off the list, he's actually ahead of Don Dove.
Right. Don trying to
Make sure that doesn't happen again.
reverse that. Yeah. 5 consecutive marks so far for Don. I got to say, it was heartening to hear that. I mean, there was bowlers. My father happened to also be bowling on that pair. I mean, and across the board, you had everybody supporting each other. So you got different ages, different people from different
Yes.
places, and
We were Jim and I were talking about it a lot, and how that helps to build confidence for everybody. I mean, keeps you focused as Jesse, and of course somebody like Matt has the leading average bowler in the country, giving him all the support he can handle.
yeah. I mean, it was a great thing. we are all personally responsible for the culture in this game and for the climate, and how much people want to be here is a product of how fun it is to play this game. And it's fun
Absolutely.
when we're supporting each other, not when we're
Yeah, I don't know how many. I don't see the other side of it often. I've experienced it. There's John D'Antonis going through the middle on 2. I've experienced it very, very occasionally where someone's, I don't want to say cheering against, but you can tell they're not rooting for you, and I don't know.
yeah.
That's not my game. I've never felt that way or played that way. So
Yeah, here's Stacy. Stacy, rough box going.
east
here.
side, west side, and he's got to try to clean this up.
John trying to get to 10. Yeah, I think it's important, right? We're very supportive on the lanes. It's also important to be supportive of each other off the lanes. We gotta
Absolutely.
work together.
Yes.
I'm not telling anybody something they don't know. That duckpin's popularity is deeply. I mean, the game is deeply at risk. For all of us who love it.
Right.
You know how many centers have closed over the last couple of years. Much less, broadening that over the past couple of decades. There's not a lot of this left.
Right.
And one of the fundamental things we could all be doing to try and take care of it is treating each other right. So,
And with that, Eric, Duckpin TV is going to continue its live coverage of the 88th annual Frank Barber Memorial Eastern Classic right after this brief break and message.
I think Nick's become the biggest problem solver I ever know. He's just, okay, I want to do that, so we're just gonna figure out how we're gonna do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated. McCollum's champion.
oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ringing 5 pin, and we have a tie. All right, welcome back. Took a very brief break, but doesn't step away for just a moment with all the action that's going on here, and you're going to miss something. But all we missed was a 9 spare from John D'Antonis. He left a 5 pin and covered it.
We didn't miss any of Don Dove's game.
No, that's Don is off camera, but staring down 10 pins. I got to say, if I was the head pin right now, looking back at Don
Be very
Dove,
afraid. Be very, very afraid.
yeah, I'd be, getting the medics ready.
You see Don step into your picture on lane 17. He's been burying the first ball the last 5 boxes.
Oh, that went a little bit away.
He almost got away with it, but that's unfortunately he didn't get away with it, so he's got to make a shot now.
I didn't quite notice anything other than a little bit of
Didn't sound the same.
the at the very bottom of his follow through was a little bit less snap on it. I think that might have just been his timing off a little.
Yep.
Outside. There's Mark.
You see Anastasi left the 1-7 difficult. Difficult to leave it. Never mind make it. And Dove does everything but make it. Hit that exactly where he wanted to, I believe.
Tricky thing to cover. 4, 5, 6, 7, or so rather 7, 8.
Yeah, 4, 5, 7, 8. You got the pins moving around, but he'll take the 9 box and try to start up another streak of 5 in a row.
Yeah, I don't think he's too disappointed about that. It's just a little bit off on that first ball,
Hair off.
2 good balls after that. Here's Will Rigney grinding out a 147 average so far.
And
That's a nice
Will's
ball out
heating
there.
up. Will's starting to heat up.
It's a good time for it.
I wouldn't
a
be
lot of people
surprised to
like
see
that
his
pair.
name on that sheet by the end of this day.
Very, very well could be there. We're struggling to pick who's gonna.
I know
whose score
there's
is
so
gonna get
many
on there.
good
There's-
bowlers on this shift that can.
and they're all, a bunch of them are really close in score at this point. Will,
Ooh, very rare to see someone like Will miss a single.
got a good close up of Will there trying to.
Shaking off that miss. Like, take it out.
Yeah,
Take me out. And you see Stacy Kelly. See him wind that ball up right behind his back. Comes through directly straight down.
yep. Another interesting style. I mean, a very nice, solid, steady approach. But the way that backswing comes around, he kind of reverses his hand and
Yeah.
has a little bit of a snap at the very bottom.
Stacy
of his,
was a major league prospect pitcher as a young man. He threw a 90-something mile-an-hour fastball and blew his arm out and
yeah, and
came back and started throwing underhand. It was a little bit easier.
yeah, and he did pretty well there. A spare in the fourth frame. Stacy, I believe, has maybe a 43 plus in the fourth. I don't know. Based on the last game, the first four aren't his strength.
No, he finished the last game strong.
Last six are his.
Is off camera. Anastasia with a bomb.
Yeah, big
Going to
ball.
show you a
There's
replay of that, maybe.
There's the aftermath.
The remnants.
There. Yeah.
Wasn't much left fighting after that ball.
Don Dove also off camera with an 8 drop here. This is John D'Antonis, and here's Don trying to make that spare. Yep,
Let's cover that one.
split him.
Johnny D'Antonis over on 1 and 2 with a
Oh wow,
6,
I think he's
7.
a little surprised. He looked pretty happy with the way that ball when it came off his hand, thinking it was really going to be tight in that pocket. I think maybe it was just a little bit heavier than he was
Yeah.
looking for.
It's an 8 load, but I'll tell you what, Jim and I were talking about lanes 1 and 2 and historically producing some pretty high scores, but we've seen the majority of the big John
what a
D'Antonis
cover.
does not take any prisoners with that ball.
Wow.
It was an angry ball, and he sent the 6-pin off the sidewall, back over across, and directly into the 7-pin. Awesome shot.
What a cover. There's Will Rigney. Kind of threw the 2-8, but got to 6 on it. I mean, his ball crosses over. He could cover that up.
Here's Stacy Kelly again, filling a spare. Bomb, sliding everything. Stacy Kelly with a big 10 box, 10 load.
Stacy, the slow starter so far in his game, on every game he's put in. John bought himself a little bit of time. I think his score. I mean, just a 93 in the 7th. I mean, he's 23 plus a hit. I mean, he's got room to get to
really-
160 without a double.
Right, and he's struggling this game, but again, these guys, the guys that score an average 160, the struggle is only in our minds. I don't think it's in their minds at all.
Yeah. Brian Stiles, 2009 Eastern Classic winner.
He has a little bit on that ball, huh?
Yeah, I think, you say that. You drew a pin up about 15 feet up into the gutter. Talk about power. Does a really good job of, transferring a lot of momentum really productively into the ball. He's probably got one of the highest velocities of any of the bowlers out here on his ball, plus probably a higher rev rate than anybody.
Yeah,
on
he comes charging to the line too.
Yeah.
It's
There's Mark Anastasi.
coming off the.
That was on a strike. I
Yeah,
believe.
he had a strike in the last box, but that got too heavy to the middle. Coming up on lane 17, we'll have Don Dove in a second.
Mark trying to take a shot at this. Whoa. We got bowlers trying to put on a split clinic here.
No, they're showing you the proper way to shoot at them. Some of them are being made, and some of them aren't.
That was actually a great box for Mark. In spite of going through the middle, he gets to 9 on the fill and then a 10 box and
Don Dove, another blast for 9.
buried. What a ball. Don, not the least bit disappointed about that. I mean, he's really heavy, hard in the pocket and getting pins to move, but he's not quite carrying the strikes. I think he's okay with that. He's looking really sharp.
I guarantee you, he'll tell you he'll shoot at one-pinners all day. He'll take the strikes when they come, obviously, but, one-pinners are what this game's all about. So Antonis is actually at 92 in the 8th. So adjustment to that score.
All right, keying in some updates to John D'Antonis' score. I think we had an extra spare in there somewhere, but you witnessed it with your eyes, as did we. The cover of that 6-7, that was a spare in the 9th. He put a strike on it, and then got 9 more. 131. That's a 461, if I'm not mistaken, for John. Sorry.
Don.
Yeah.
So a good recovery for D'Antonis there, but again, when you're averaging 59, 31s are
Yeah, you're gonna
heading in the
take
wrong
a little bit
direction.
of a hit there. Still got a buffer. Still working with a little bit of room.
See Stacy Kelly jumping back up there on a strike.
That looked like a great ball out of his hand, and
Solid 9 leaves the 7 pin.
a little bit of noise in the background there. People excited for Stacy's showing in this year's.
I think there was some
Eastern.
sort of a side bet on whether Stacy threw a double there. I don't know what it was exactly, but he covers the spare and continues to have that strong second half.
Yep, that's 3 in a row for Stacy. Spare, strike, spare. Mark Anastasi here. I'm telling you, I love this. I really love this angle for Mark. I mean, it shows you just how straight his swing is, how good his balance is when he delivers the ball, and just the line is straight down the middle. And it's not a line that you see a lot of bowlers play, right? There's usually a little bit of
He's
angle.
standing dead center in the middle of the lane, and his arm comes straight through, ball goes straight down.
Yep.
And that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
7-10.
7-10, and not on a mark, unfortunately.
So
Mark
yeah,
trying to get to a
yeah,
10 here.
Cleans up one. Now he's going to try to clean up the second one. So all you can do out of that is make the 10 box.
Here's Don Dove. Filling a spare. Oh,
Yeah, that one
Don,
out of his
he-
hand.
almost in his second step. I could kind of see him. I don't know whether he kind of took a step left, but his swing went out a little bit, and then he had
Ball came out sideways.
yeah.
Makeable spare though if he splits them up.
And that's too bad. It's unfortunately not taking advantage of the spare, and then you can't get a mark out of it. It's going to put a dent in the game he's got going, but still room for
Well, he's
as much as
obviously
180,
he's going
or,
to gain
as much as
ground on
170,
he's going to
rather.
gain ground on D'Antonis obviously because he's already ahead of him. He's a 15 pins ahead. If he marks, he's got a chance to increase that by up to 35 pins or more, 45 pins possible.
Yeah, he's going to need margins like that for the next couple of games to make up that ground.
Oh, as we noted this morning, Kyle made up 30, and then he made up 15, and then it was 47, and next thing you know it was 15, and then it was 8. And
Yeah. So this angle here is the same one that I keep saying is great for Mark Anastasi. It's actually not so great for Stacy because Stacy comes over from the right, and where he's standing when he releases the ball is kind of right in front of the camera
Yep.
angle. But
you can
we
tell
get
if
a
he
better
makes
look
it by
at
the
him
when he
this
when he
time
turns
shooting
around.
across at the other side of the lane. Wow, he's
Zoned in. He's coming off a 153 game, and he's 4 marks in a row.
making it look easy. I talked to Stacy earlier. Stacy and friends went down to the casino last night, and they did not have an early night. They did not turn in. I heard they came back pretty late. They had a good night. Good thing they probably weren't bowling the first shift. Stacy still looks pretty fresh to me, though.
Yeah, he
You wouldn't-
seems like it's not affecting him all that much.
No.
So John D'Antonis has moved over to lanes 3 and 4, along with Will Rigney. We've got Don Dove about to finish up his third game and move over to 19 and 20.
There's a new bowler who is rising rapidly in the standings. His last name is Anastasi. His first name is not Mark.
Oh, there you go.
That would be Mark's brother, Matt, who is now up to 5th on our leaderboard by average. He has almost caught his brother. He is currently sitting just one position beneath him on the leaderboard. That's pretty
180
amazing. I
Game in
think-
a 180s.
Yeah. What a game for Matt. Matt, obviously, not somebody we've been talking about in earlier broadcasts or even up until this point in this shift, but clearly must have been holding his own, elsewhere on the elsewhere in the alley while Mark was doing a lot of work. Matt, so far we got the last couple of games here.
341.
341. He went 160, 181 the last 2 games. Opened up with a 120 earlier on in the day, but recovered very nicely from that.
No, the 120 was the last game of his first shift. The 120 is only his 6th game.
Nope, that's game 7. That was first game of this shift. 155 was the last game of the first block, but either way, that's John D'Antonis with a ball off the mark. Heavy on the 2-pin. He's got something you don't imagine yourself making many times when you leave it, but you shoot for the head one and see what happens. Oh, that's a ball left and then a ball right.
Dove covers.
Don Dove really, as you said earlier, Pat, trying to take advantage of that off game from John D'Antonis.
Who starts his next game with a 10 box. Wow.
Oh, and that's
Dove
Not a
finishes
bad
with a
spot.
6 load of 162.
and if you're going to go through the middle, getting 6 out of it on a mark, that's positive. So I'm not going to. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I did just see John D'Antonis throw one ball to the left of the head pin, one ball to the right of the head pin. It's a very small sample of ball, of balls to be drawing any conclusions from, but I'm wondering if he's starting to feel a little different. Maybe not quite as sharp as he had been the first
Well.
few games. I don't think we saw anything I would have been concerned about in that last game.
Nope.
Some bad breaks here and there. He didn't really didn't miss the breaks that he had. But that frame there, when I see that happen, I start
Right.
to wonder just a little bit.
Well,
But,
the average drops 3 pins, so
yeah.
the closer that gets to 150, the closer we get to having a shootout at the end of this. Right now, as we are traveling between games here, we're going to take a short break, and we'll bring you back to live coverage of the Duckpin TV presentation of the 88th annual Frank Barber Memorial Eastern Classic.
I think Nick's become the biggest problem solver I ever know. He's just okay. I want to do that, so we're just gonna figure out how we're gonna do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated and Collins champion.
Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ringing 5 pin, and we have a tie. All right, welcome back.